Welcome to the Busy Signal. My name is Jim, and this is my retrostalgic 80s, 90s, and early 2000s podcast. This show aims to salute all the stuff from back in the day that is now either extinct or quickly going that way. Before we get into this episode, I'd like to wish you all a Happy New Year. I hope you all got everything you wished yourselves for Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you at least enjoyed some time off. But here we are in 2024. We are in the future. As a kid, the 2020s seemed like so space-agey, like Jetsons to me, you know? Anyway, now that the season of eating is over, it's time to make that, New Year's resolution. The New Year's resolution. Choosing fitness and losing weight, making healthier choices, and of course, exercising. Home gym equipment is a big business. And nowadays, it's all about the Peloton and that weird mirror monitor thing that you work out in front of. But back in the day, we had our own set of workout gear. This episode, I'm going to remember all the fitness fads, gadgets, and home gym equipment. All that stuff that was in the constant barrage of infomercials and commercials. And I'll be spanning the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. And I don't think that I ever actually set a definition for early 2000s in this podcast. And 7 episodes in, I probably should. So 2010 is probably where I'm going to draw the line. I was born in 81, so that's kind of like my wheelhouse for the show. As early as I can remember to 2010. And over that period of time, we've seen some weird and wild stuff as far as home gym and fitness equipment goes. And it's all been brought to us by celebrities. Some big names too. So without further delay, on to the coat racks. Home gym equipment. First up is a fitness gadget. It's like the fitness gadget for like the 80s and 90s. You can't talk about home gym equipment or fitness, equipment without talking about this one. And the person who was the spokesperson for it didn't even become famous through home fitness or exercising. They were already an established celebrity. Suzanne Somers and her Thighmaster. Suzanne Somers was already famous through shows like Three's Company and later ABC Step by Step. But I don't know if you can even talk about Suzanne Somers without thinking Thighmaster. She was everywhere with that thing in the 80s and 90s. Suzanne has recently passed, but you can still go to YouTube and find all the Thighmaster content you want over there. As far as the Thighmaster goes, it was a weird looking thing. It was kind of like a blue paper clip with a red center that had been bent out of shape. I took the time to go back and watch an actual Thighmaster routine, workout routine on YouTube. Suzanne Somers comes on in the beginning in the intro and thanks everybody for buying it and making such great choices in life, and then on to the routine. And it was done by somebody else. But you learn in this routine that it's not just for thighs. They take that thing and do all sorts of things with it for biceps and chest and legs and back. It's kind of crazy. There were even different versions of the Thighmaster. There was a Thighmaster Gold. From what I could tell, the only thing different was instead of the tension centerpiece being red, it was just gold. And then there was the LBX version, which was the, also known as the Buttmaster. And I'm not really going to talk about that because no. Suzanne Somers never stopped promoting this thing since 1990. It was, like I said, it was plastered everywhere. You always saw Thighmaster commercials. Call now. Free brochures for Thighmaster. Or you just found them as the as seen on TV aisle. It was just there, always.
I used to do aerobics till I dropped. Then I found Thighmaster. Every single time you squeeze Thighmaster, you strengthen and tone right where you need it. So it's easy to squeeze your way to shapely hips and thighs.
I mentioned I went to the YouTube video and watched a workout routine, and they have a very dedicated following, this Thighmaster. If you look in the comments, it's tons of people that swear by this gadget, even saying that they found their mom's old Thighmaster and started using it and saw results. One would think that after 30 plus years of the Thighmaster being a thing, that there's got to be something to it. It's still out there.
I recommend it and use it.
So we salute the Thighmaster.
Thighmaster. We may not have been born with great legs, but now we can look like we were.
Real quick, I did find my mom's Thighmaster when I was a kid, and I decided that I was going to see how much I could compress it, where I would press it down on my legs and my hands and try and get it to completely compress. And it slipped out of my hands, and that thing jerked up and hit me in the chin. It was like being punched. It was great. And I'm so glad that nobody was around to see it, and that things like TikTok and Instagram didn't exist at the time. Next up is a really iconic 90s fitness home gym equipment thing. The Gazelle. Somewhere in the mid-90s, a really buff dude, kind of short, with a mullet-ish hybrid ponytail thing, leapt into the fitness scene with a new piece of home gym equipment and a catchphrase.
You can do it!
Tony Little's appearance was wild. I mean, like I said, he was squat, short, but super buff, crazy high energy, and just totally promoting this Gazelle. And they were everywhere, just like the Thighmaster, just like everything we're talking about. You could not get away from Gazelle commercials and infomercials. Just like the Thighmaster, my mom had a Gazelle. And one day, I got on that Gazelle, and I saw Tony Little on his infomercial lean back. And he looked like he was having the time of his life doing back and forth with that elliptical thing. And I tried to do the same thing. And man, I busted my rear end. That Gazelle flipped over upside down on me. It was gangly. Things were everywhere. I thought I broke it. I thought I broke myself. I thought I broke my living room. It was a mess. And once again, I'm so glad that things like cell phones and camera phones and the internet really wasn't a thing. So nobody can see that. But it's a fun story. I think one of the most memorable things about the Gazelle wasn't actually even a commercial for the Gazelle. It looked like a commercial for the Gazelle, and there was Tony Little, and he was on the Gazelle, and he was talking to somebody about it, and then all of a sudden, before you knew it, it was a Geico commercial. It was fantastic. That's when Geico would like disguise their commercials as other things, and I thought that was just a genius marketing tactic. I mean, here I am, 20 plus later, talking to you about a Geico commercial during a Gazelle thing.
What if I told you in just 3 20-minute workouts, only 1 hour a week, you can increase your energy levels, strengthen your heart, reduce your stress, and shape all the muscles of your body, all with one quality machine? Would you be interested?
Yes, I would.
Well, Stacy, I have good news.
Tell me more.
I just saved a bunch of money on my car insurance by switching to Geico. Yeah, baby, you can do it.
But that was the awesome thing about Tony Little. He totally had no problem spoofing himself in multiple things. If you look up Tony Little, you can see all the things he was in, and usually he was spoofing himself if he wasn't in an actual Gazelle commercial. There were a couple cringy times when he would get on the Gazelle with other people, and that looked weird, and you're just like, what's going on there? Don't do that, but, you know.
Let's talk about quality.
Okay.
Slow down. Don't get afraid now. I'm going to put my foot underneath your heel, okay? And we can do that. This is why I have such a great job, folks. Working the inside of my thighs, working my buttocks. If I lean forward, say I want to do just my hip flexors or my buttocks even more.
Right.
I do what's called digging.
I guess it was innocent enough. The whole thing just looked like fun. It looked like a ride. You know, you just get on there and just go. So we salute the Gazelle. You can do it. Up next is another piece of equipment that you would keep in your home. The Bowflex. There were several versions of the Bowflex, but I'm specifically talking about the home gym version. I really feel like when I was a kid, that commercial was everywhere. Always Bowflex. Although it wasn't a boring commercial, they had several different versions with different muscle-bound people. It wasn't just like the same muscle-bound person telling you to get buff. The difference with the Bowflex was they had power rods. It was kind of like bending these resistant rods into like a bow. And that's how you worked out. You'd get on this thing and you would pull these power rods and, you know, you'd get super buff if you kept doing it over and over and over and over again 3 times a week for 20 minutes. And it seemed like a pretty good deal. They'd give you a free VHS, 15-minute VHS, and a money-back 6-week guarantee. So you could get this thing for 6 weeks and try it out. The real big promise about this machine was it would bring a whole gym of equipment into your home in one piece. And then it was also supposed to be easy to move to boot. And it really does seem easy to move when you watch the commercials. But of course, these are wide open spaces. These living rooms are not like the typical living room. These living spaces are not the typical living spaces. Honestly, if you're putting this thing in your home, it's probably staying right there. You're not moving it. Unless you're putting it out on the side of the lawn after several years because you haven't used it and you're putting a free sign on it. So Bowflex and your power rods.
A revolution in total body workouts featuring power rod resistance. Bowflex makes it simple to move from exercise to exercise. All you do is combine power rods from as little as 5 pounds to as much as 400.
We salute you. Which leads us right into another piece of home gym equipment that promises to bring a whole gym of equipment into your home with one piece of equipment. And that, I feel like that's the GOAT. The Total Gym. And the Total Gym had been around, I looked it up, since 1974. The infomercial started in 1996, and they brought on the biggest stars that they could get. I mean, honestly, almost the biggest star in the world. Chuck Norris, and Christy Brinkley. I mean, Chuck Norris is a legend. He absolutely is a legend. The memes about Chuck Norris are legend. His beard is legend. He fought against Bruce Lee. Legend. And Christy Brinkley was an actress in the vacation movies. No matter what, they were two super fit people. Can't get two better people to promote a total gym. I have one in my basement. Basically, it's a board that slides up and down and can be angled to use a certain percentage of your body weight as resistance. That's kind of like genius, honestly. The infomercial starts out saying that they can replace a whole gym full of equipment in your home with just this. And then you've got people, one after another, rapid firing questions. Can it replace this? Can it replace this? Can it replace this gym equipment? And back and forth, you've got Christy and Chuck saying, yeah, it can do that, and let me show you how.
Can your machine do what the chest press does? Working my chest, shoulders, and triceps?
The Total Gym works the same muscles. Watch.
Can it do what the tricep machine does? This machine really isolates the triceps.
The Total Gym does the same thing.
This is the abductor machine, and it gives you a great workout for your outer thighs. Can your machine do that?
Yeah, but with your abductor machine, you're only getting one exercise. Look, I'm working my hips, my thighs, and my butt on the very same machine that you can do over 60 other exercises on. Beat that.
This infomercial was on for years. In my what little research I like to do, the Webernet says the Total Gym was the longest running infomercial, which makes sense because Chuck Norris isn't going anywhere, so he can keep doing these things for another 20, 40 years. I mean, I even found a brand new Total Gym infomercial from 2021 with Chuck Norris in Hawaii. Dude is living large on the Total Gym at this point. Love it. The other thing about this is you can really find these in a lot of physical therapy and hospitals. They use the Total Gym because it is so easy to change up and down and, put as little resistance or as much resistance as possible. And just like the Thighmaster, the Total Gym has a huge dedicated following. You could see that online, that's for sure. And if you were to take one look at me, you'd totally know that I don't use it. Anybody want a Total Gym? I suspect it may be on eBay sometime soon. I salute the Total Gym, and I absolutely salute Chuck Norris because I'm American, and that seems like the American thing to do. Next up is Nordictrack. I remember these when I was a real little kid, and I just thought it looked so cool because it was a ski machine. I mean, it was another commercial in heavy rotation, of course, but it looked really fun. Kind of like a precursor to the Gazelle. You were just, hands and feet were going back and forth at all times, but it looked cool, it looked fun. I mean, I was like 8 or 9 when I saw it, and I was like, that looks like fun. But then you realize as you get older, exercise is not fun. It was being touted as aerobic exercise. And as we know, aerobics became massive in the 80s and the 90s. They were all the rage. Everything had to be aerobic. If it was an exercise, it had to be aerobic.
Nordictrack. It's so easy. Just like walking and swinging your arms. But the workout's unbelievable. They call it the world's best aerobic exercise.
What's aerobic? Aerobic is an exercise that involves large muscle groups in rhythmic and repetitive motions. Basically, it's another word for exercise. But the Nordictrack was low impact. It didn't jar your joints or muscles. You just kind of went back and forth real smooth, like as if you were cross-country skiing. And pretty much all the gadgets I talked about today are low impact. I just remember every commercial, they always had to talk about their patented flywheel technology.
Just like cross-country skiing, Nordictrack's patented flywheel provides smooth and non-jarring continuity of motion.
I have no idea what it does, but it was there. That's a selling point, right? And just like everything else, 3 20-minute workouts every week. That's all. That's easy, right? I wish. And once again, just like the Total Gym or the Bowflex, it was easily folded and moved. And this one wanted to entice you with a free brochure, a 30-day trial, and a video. And what I liked about this one is it wasn't just fit people using it in the commercials, real big buff people or fit people. It was old people too, because it was low impact. So that was a big selling point for the older generation. It was easy on the knees. So Nordictrack and your patented flywheel technology, we salute you. Last up on this Happy New Year edition of the Busy Signal is something you just can't talk about fitness from the 80s and 90s, at the very least, without saying the name Richard Simmons. That guy represented fitness, and especially aerobic fitness, in the 80s. He was absolutely everywhere on every television show, talk show. He was just sweating to the oldies, and that's what we're talking about. Sweating to the oldies.
This is my brand new aerobic workout tape, Sweatin' to the Oldies. And if you don't like having fun, well, you best not come in here. Whoa!
And that came out in 1988. Honestly, I thought it came out much earlier. When you think about it, the concept is brilliant. It was geared towards middle-aged people. In the 80s, that would have been people born in the 50s. So they would have had this nostalgia for the music that they grew up with 30 years ago, and they needed to lose weight. So they could do this aerobic exercise to their music. It was pretty cool. It wasn't very strenuous stuff, but it was stuff to get you moving and get you sweating and listen to some tunes from back in the day. Basically, the whole concept was just keep moving. That was Richard Simmons, just keep moving and portion control. So this could be done along with his other program, which was Deal a Meal, which honestly, I've looked at Deal a Meal and Weight Watchers, and they're kind of the same. It's just portion control. So it was cool that you never really saw really buff people in Richard Simmons stuff. It was all people that needed the workout and they were working out with him. He got in there with them. But those commercials were always on. It wasn't like big, long infomercials that I remember. It was just regular commercials. Like, buy the tapes for Sweatin' to the Oldies. I think there were cassette tapes, VHS tapes. So you could just keep going. And then there would be new routines with all new oldies to sweat to. There were 5 spin-offs to this Sweatin' to the Oldies. The one interesting thing that I learned was that Richard Simmons' name isn't Richard Simmons. It's Milton Teagle Simmons. I like Richard Simmons better. And the Sweatin' to the Oldies content that he put out is only just a drop in the bucket. I mentioned he had Deal a Meal, but he had tons of other products, weight loss products and programs that he did. He even had studios, DVDs, CDs, websites. He was just a killer guy on the workout scene. So we salute Richard Simmons and his Sweatin' to the Oldies. And that does it for this one, this Happy New Year episode. I'm going to keep it short this time around because I'm working on some things. Might even have, who knows, a guest star. But as far as this episode goes, did you have any memories unlocked? Did you remember being a kid watching Nickelodeon and all of a sudden Bowflex commercials come on? Or Total Gym commercials are coming on like Sunday afternoons when you're trying to watch whatever the Sunday afternoon movie was? Did your parents have any of these home gym equipment gadgets? Do you currently have any of these pieces of home gym equipment? And are they working for you? Or are you using them as coat racks? No matter what, I want to wish you all a happy and healthy 2024. And as with all my episodes, they're open to be revisited. So if I didn't mention something that you want to be included in another part 2, part 3, whatever, hit me up. I can be reached on Instagram at BusySignalCast. And if you do like the podcast, give a follow on Instagram. I share tons of other retro-nostalgic content. Also subscribe to wherever you get your pods to get each episode right away when it drops. And if you have time, leave a nice review. That'd be much appreciated. Awesome. Until next time, guys, remember, reach out and touch the past.
You can do it!